Hi everybody, good morning. This is the District Stitcher coming at you with Flosstube number 13, lucky number 13. It is Sunday, November 19th, and thank you so much for joining me to discuss this hobby we all love. And if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. It helps other people find the channel and helps grow the community so that I can talk to more people, which is really the goal of this whole thing. I'm not trying to monetize it. I'm just here for the community because it's a really awesome space here on YouTube. So I really appreciate any returning viewers, and if you are a new viewer, I hope you stick around. I try to film every 2 weeks. This summer went a little crazy because we had a lot of travel and a lot of things going on, but my goal is to film every 2 weeks because then I have enough to show you. So without further ado, let's jump into it. I have a couple finishes to show you today. Unfortunately, no final finishes because I just have not had time or inclination to get out all the stuff that I need to do to fully finish. And excuse me, I have a little bit of vocal fry today. I was talking all day yesterday, which I'll talk about. I've decided to stick out a life updates portion at the end of the video, just to make it a little more personable and chatting. But because I was talking all day yesterday, my voice is a little shot. So hopefully it's not too annoying to listen to. Yeah, I don't have any fully finished items, but I do have some finishes. So this was, my first one was the Halloween stitch that I was doing from the Prairie Schooler, which I love their stuff. The Prairie Schooler, and it was called Knock Knock. And here it is. I think I showed it last time and I said I was going to try to get it finished. So here it is. I mean, I sat this way so that I would remember to hold stuff up on this side. There we go. Oh, there's more room. Alright, so there it is. I love, let's see if I can hold it a little better there. A little closer. I love the border. The house was it was a lot to stitch. But I love the effect of like the negative space on the fence. And I love my two little witches. The one in the house. I love the witch silhouetted by the window. I don't know why, but she just makes me very happy. But I thought this was just so cute. And this is just stitched in DMC 310, and I forget what the number is for the orange one. And this is it's a 36 count something. I'm pretty sure it's a natural linen. I don't know what I did with the tag. But it was one of those things on 1-2-3 Stitch where you can, when you buy the pattern, you can add the fabric and the thread. And that's what I did for this. And this is the linen that they sent. It calls for lamb's wool, but I don't think this is lamb's wool. I don't think this is any particular color. I think this is just a natural. It just looks like a natural linen. So I am very pleased with it. I'm very happy to have that stitched, and I will have it framed and out for next Halloween. I mean, let's be honest, it's just going to be framed and sitting at my desk, because my desk is where I keep all my Halloween decorations, because, as you can tell, I love Halloween. So, I love all holidays, though. I'm not just... Halloween's kind of my favorite, but I think it's... Well, I do love spooky stuff, right? But I think I love it because as a kid, right, it was the kickoff of the holiday season. Because then you got Halloween, you got Thanksgiving, you got Christmas, and my mom always made a really big deal out of decorating. And I mean, it looked in our house like holidays exploded. It just, there was no color theme. The theme was the holiday. There were no color palettes, it was just, if the theme was Christmas, it was stuck up somewhere. So, that is honestly kind of how I don't know if you can tell behind me, that's honestly kind of how I decorate now. The theme is I like it. So, I respect people who decorate with color palettes and, have all the pretty stuff happening. I don't have the ability to limit myself. I am definitely more of a maximalist, which drives my husband a little crazy. But, he edits me, and then we end up somewhere nicely in the middle. So, the other two finishes I have are Mill Hills. I was working on a lot of the Mill Hill kits that I showed in a previous video. I've been steadily working my way through them. I think I'm going to have to bump the gnomes up to the front of the queue. And for those of you who missed that previous video, it's the, I got the collection of this year's Jim Shore gnomes from, excuse me, from Mill Hill. My mom is obsessed with gnomes, particularly the Jim Shore ones. She loves the artwork. She loves the style. So I stitched last year's for her for Christmas and made them into I added a little ribbon, made them little hanging ornaments, which she keeps up year round now. So I am going to, I'm saying a lot today. It's just, my brain's fried. It was a long day yesterday. But this is, I'm going to stitch this series for her. And they're really pretty. Like, they're all very, like, the color palette is very light, like, wintry light. I love the little mushroom gnome. So they're very, actually, I think my favorite is this pinecone gnome. So this is not, the gnomes are not something that I really decorate with, but they're going to be very fun to stitch, which is good, because I'm in a condo in DC, I run out of space, so it's nice to be able to stitch stuff and then just give it to people. So I get to enjoy stitching it, and then it leaves my house. So the two Mill Hills I stitched this time was a slice of pizza and a little polar bear. So here's the pizza. It did have a little heart treasure bead that was supposed to go on the crust, but it just felt like too much to me. I looked at it and I didn't really like it, so I did not put it on. And these, for the most part, some of them are going to be finished as ornaments. But the ones that come with magnets, because a lot of the little Mill Hill kits come with magnets, and I'm just absolutely going to turn into magnets. I'm going to do a little felt backing, cut them out, do a little felt backing, and give them to people as stocking stuffers. Just little magnets. Or just add them to... I love to do, something my sister and I both do, I love to give, like a bag or a basket or something just full of little stuff. Just so you open a box at Christmas, you unwrap, you open a box, and there's just a bunch of little things in there. Just a bunch of fun little things, like, a headband from a local artisan at a craft fair, and a candle, and, a box of tea. Just, like, I love to give big presents, but sometimes it's fun to just open up a box and just have, like, a bunch of stuff come out. So my sister and I both do that to each other, and it's really fun, so. It also, this might go to my sister, because I still, to this day, mercilessly tease her for how she used to eat pizza. When she's older than I am, and when I was a kid, I would not eat pizza with her, because I was so disgusted by the way that she would eat pizza. It was like an excavation. She would take off the toppings and eat the pepperoni, and then pick off the cheese and eat the cheese, and then like use the cheese to scrape off the tomato sauce and then eat the dough. And it was so weird and disturbing that I refused to eat pizza with her when I was a little kid. So honestly, I think it's probably going to go to my sister, who luckily does not watch this. So, the other one that I did was really fun. This one was a really quick stitch, and I think it's because the bear doesn't have any beads on himself, other than his eyes and little, I don't know if you can see it, but his little toe beans are beads, which was adorable. And I got this kit because it reminds me of the Coca-Cola bears, so I think that this is probably going to go to my mom. And I just, the beads on it are, other than the toe beans, and his eyes, and nose, actually. The rest of him is just cross-stitched, so I think that's why it went really quickly, because it was a lot less stopping and starting, to leave space for the beads, and the beads were all in the wreath around, the garland around him. I thought that one was really, I'm trying to get it, so you can, Mill Hills are just impossible to show. Mill Hills, if you've never stitched a Mill Hill, I highly recommend it. I really like, so also, they come with, if you've never stitched them, they come with all the, let me show you this one, that I will stitch at some point. Like, it comes with the thread, and it comes with the beads, but it also, a lot of these little ones, like this one, will come with a magnet, that you can just glue onto the back, and just turn into, so you can turn it into a fridge magnet, or a magnet for whatever you want to stick it on. But they also come with a regular, embroidery needle, but they also come with these wee little needles for the beads. So these are actually a great, you're not even going to be able to see it. Let's see if I can hold it against, because they're very small. I can hold it against something so you can see it. But they come with slim, you can see on my finger there, they come with these slim needles that fit the seed beads. So if you have an interest in stitching anything else that comes with beads, like, or has beads on it, like a Mirabilia, Joan Elliott design, anything that, or you just want to add beads to things, then you can build up a nice little collection. This is my needle holder. It's a little felt thing that from my mother-in-law that I think she bought it in Estonia, maybe? It was after a trip she did. It was after like a cruise in the Baltic region. But I use it it holds some pins, and holds all my embroidery needles, because it just sits right at my desk. But the nice thing is, like, now I have this nice collection of beading needles that I don't have to then fight beads on an embroidery needle and try to find the one that fits. Which, when you first start out, you might just have regular embroidery needles, and you want to pick up something that has beads, and it's not always a fun process to pull the little beads down the needle. So I highly recommend trying the Mill Hills, because they come with those needles, and they're pretty easy to stitch. Perforated paper is really easy to stitch on. So you're not tugging it through fabric, or you're not squinting to look where the holes are. So if you have not tried a Mill Hill, allow me to highly recommend that you pick up one and try a Mill Hill kit. The first ones I did actually were the gnomes last year, so I ended up loving those. So those are finishes. And I have 2 whips that I have worked on in the past 2 weeks, because I was doing those little Mill Hills. So 2 of the whips that I worked on, they're both Christmas, and the first I had not intended on starting, and then I just kept looking at it as it was sitting there, and I'm like, I really want to, because I have a couple other kits by this company. It's Riolis, and I think that they're a East European company. I'm not sure where they're based. I've seen their kits in English and in, like, Russian, which means it could honestly be from any company, for any country in Eastern Europe. And I mean, the fact that we can still get them seems to me like they're not based in Russia, because a lot of that has been sanctioned down because of the invasion of Ukraine, because Russia's under a lot of sanctions. So anyway, this kit it's really interesting, because a lot of their kits have, hold this up here, I'm trying to not get glare on it, there we go. A lot of their kits have this their thread is wool acrylic blend. So it's more like the old embroidery and crewel stitching from like the 60s and 70s, right? Like it has that wool thread. But I think it's interesting because it gives it better over here. Maybe. There we go. It gives it a very soft look on the finished products. So I've been really curious about stitching with their kits. So I have a couple that are stowed away. Not all of them have the wool acrylic blend. Some of them do have cotton embroidery floss. But I thought it was really interesting, and I love this image. This is just very Christmas to me. It's just like, it's all about that glow of warmth and light, and like that's just very midwinter and Christmas to me. So I really liked this pattern. So here's the start I have on it. Let me actually hold this behind. There we go. The black Ada does have a little bit of a reflection on it. There we go. So yeah, that's just like the roofs of the little cottages that I have started. It took me a minute because the pattern, I'm not going to show you the pattern. The pattern is full color, but it's not like those magazines that have full color patterns. The colors are for readability, so they don't, I'm going to show you just like a wee corner-ish. Not really. But the colors on the pattern don't necessarily match the thread. Because the thread here for the kind of grayish brown on the roofs were blue on the chart, which threw me for a loop. But I got used to it, and so I'm used to reading it now. So it takes a second to get used to how they do it. But then once you do, it's fairly simple. But if you have one of those kits and you're having trouble with it, feel free to email me at the, I have a email address in my description, so I can tell you, I can help you out with it because I figured it out. Anyway, so that was number one whip. I guess technically qualifies as a new start because I had not started it last time we spoke. The second whip is one that I've been working on. I was working on it this morning, and I'm going to continue working on it today because it is absolutely addictive to stitch. I love it. And I usually shy away for anything that has like an intense border. But I think I'm okay with borders. I like borders. I think I just like stitching, so I don't really care. I don't really shy away from anything that has a lot of backstitch either. It doesn't bother me. I kind of like going back and putting in all the back stitches to sort of make it come to life. So anyway, this has no back stitching. This is Shannon Christine Designs Sugarplum Village. So the model here is stitched on a vintage country mocha, I believe. And I first saw this on Lality Stitches and absolutely adored it and needed to stitch it. And bought it immediately. That's how Flosstube works. And it is, other than the DMC white, it's all Weeks Dye Works. And then it's just a handful of colors, and but it's so pretty. And I just loved it. It was so cute, so sweet. But I knew I didn't want to do it on Vintage Country Mocha. Nothing against Vintage Country Mocha. I like it a lot. But Sugarplum Village, to me, it needed a plummy fabric because it's Sugarplum Village. So I bought, what is it? I did save the sticker for this. 32 count exotic orchid Lugana. So it's by Picture This Plus, I think. Maybe. I don't know. But I got it up on 2-3 Stitch. But this is, so it's a Lugana, so it is not, it's not a linen. Lugana is it's not just, oh, I don't remember what Lugana is, but it has some synthetic fibers in it. But that makes it, the thread is very even. It's what's called an even weave fabric. So, I am not fabric loyal. I'll stitch on anything. I'll stitch on Aida, I'll stitch on linen, I'll stitch on even weave fabric like Lugana. It's more for me based on color and then how much I want to squint at the fabric. So that determines the count. Like how little I want it to be, or do I want this to be a relaxing stitch that's on a bigger count fabric? I mean, all stitching is relaxing, but I think you know what I mean. If I want to give my eyes a bit of a rest, I'll get a bigger count fabric for something. Or if I want it to really look like a classic, what I think of as like a classic cross stitch, if I really want you to be able to see the X's, right? Like if I really want you to understand this is a cross stitch piece, rather than a very sweet piece of embroidery that has like little dainty cross stitches. It just depends on what I want to do with the piece. That will determine what kind of fabric I use. So I really have been meaning to pick up Laura from Stitching by the Shore. She's an Aida stitcher, and she always shows the prettiest hand-dyed Aidas. And I keep meaning to pick some up, but I don't really buy for stash. Everything I buy is around, I kit up projects, and that's when I buy fabric, because I'll buy a fabric specific to a project, because I don't have room to store. I already have 3 huge bins full of quilting fabric. I have nowhere to store any additional fabric. So if I buy fabric, it is for a project that I'm about to start. So this is, without further ado, let me show you this. Again, Sugarplum Village. And this is the start I have on it. I want it to show. My light in here is so crappy today. I really need to get a ring light. I will get a ring light at some point. So here we go. See, maybe if I pull it back, you can really. Yeah, that's better. So this is Wild Orchid. It's a Lugana. It's a very sort of warm plum color. It's not a cool purple. It's a very warm color. And in person, honestly, this pops even more because the hand-dyed thread is just so pretty on it. The green in particular was so lovely last night that I had to stitch all of the green on this little corner of the border. I'm stitching it because so the pattern I have is a printed pattern and the paper's this size. So I'm just, so that I don't miscount the border and find myself messed up further down the road, I'm going to do it a page at a time. So it'll be like built out in chunks. But that way I am less concerned that I will miscount something and mess something up that I then have a pain in the butt to fix. So, but this is my start on it, and I love it a lot. It's really, the Weeks Dye Works threads are so pretty, and it looks so nice on this fabric. So, let's see if I can tilt it that way. Can you? Is it a little less? Yeah, there you go. There, you can kind of see it there. You can see how pretty it is on this fabric. But it's a very dainty border, and I love it. And it's nice because it feels wintry and Christmassy to me without braining me in the head with Christmas. Okay, at some point we will. Do we want to refocus? There we go. So I mean, again, I love Christmas, but this one is, if I don't finish this by, December 25th, which is, let's be real, incredibly unlikely that I will actually be able to finish this by Christmas. This is something that I will continue stitching on throughout the winter, just because it's so pretty and so cute. I'll probably stitch on it until I'm sick of stitching white thread. That's what happens around this time of year, right? Like, we all get into the sort of seasonal, Christmassy, wintry patterns, and then everybody is sick of just stitching white thread for all the snow. And then we switch to spring patterns. So, those are the two whips that I worked on. I just have one bit of haul to show you. So next year, I'm going to try to limit my haul to kitting up patterns I already have. Because I have a lot, and I really want to stitch them. I bought them because I want to stitch them. So, instead of adding to cart when I see patterns I want on Flosstube, I am adding to wish list. Being a responsible human being who has limited storage space. So, I think that I'm going to really be trying to stitch up I bought a lot of stuff this year. So I'm really going to try to stitch it up, because I have heard that, it's one part collecting the patterns and one part stitching. That's sort of two hobbies all wrapped into one. But I bought the patterns because I want to stitch them. I want to have them finished. I want to look at them. So I am going to really work on doing that. So, in light of that, my most recent purchase was Mirabilia. And this, again, I blame Lala D Stitches. Her channel's dangerous. Wonderful, but dangerous. But this is, honestly, I have been eyeballing this pattern for years, like a decade. And I just never bought it. And I don't think I'm maybe really embarrassed if I go back and I look at these videos and I did indeed actually buy this pattern, but I'm like fairly confident I haven't. And if I have, well, then we'll do a giveaway. So, Stargazer. I have been thinking of stitching her forever. So I really love her. And I bought the threads and the beads and the fabric that I bought for her, because I wanted something that looked like nebula, Milky Way like. So I am wondering though if I have enough. She's not huge. Now that I look at this, I'm wondering if I mathed the math correctly on the stitch count. So hopefully this is a big enough piece of fabric. We'll see. So it was a 28 count Gothic Lugana. And I know this is Picture This Bless. So this is this. So this is going to be sort of the top space. Hold it over here. There we go. So that looks very night sky to me. But still has some of the purples and blues that are in her outfit. So it's really pretty. And I held, you can see the thread against it. So I think she'll really pop and look nice. It's always a balance when you do, fabric that has so much character to it like this. It's always a balance of having a pretty background but not drowning out the stitches or not competing with the stitches, because you want that fabric to amplify the whole look, right? Rather than feel like it's competing. So that's always on my mind when I get fabric. But I think that these stitches are light enough that they will really pop. And my goodness, are there a lot of beads. It's gonna, finishing this one's gonna, be a while. There's so many beads. So that'll be, intense, but worth it. So, So yeah, that is all of my stitching. I'll do a quick little life update here. Everything's going good. So as you can tell from my intro, and then also, if you're new here, you can probably see the print right there announcing where I live, which is Washington, D.C. I often joke that it is absolutely requisite if you live in Washington, D.C. You must have at least 2 pieces of housewares that have the outline of the district on them or the district flag. It's a thing. It's just everywhere. So I don't know. I think some other cities are like that, but I don't think all cities are like that. But DC certainly is. And it's a really cool print that has all the neighborhood names on it. You can't really see on here, but it's a neat print that we've had for a while. So my husband and I live here on Capitol Hill we're in a lovely little neighborhood that has, it's very residential, it's very family friendly. We don't have any kids or pets because I'm allergic to children and pets. That's a joke. I'm not allergic to children. Children are great. I love kids. But my life role is as a village auntie. I will take the children so that the parents can have a night out. Or I will do activities with kids. And I've done a lot of work with kids. And I have a lot of kids in my family and friend group. They're great, but we are not going to have any. So it's just us in a little condo in DC. And we love living here. We love the city. It's always fun when people visit from out of town. We love playing tour guide. But so as I said in an earlier video, my previous job, I got laid off in May because my position was reorganized, which is totally fine. It happens. That's the nonprofit world. So I am now currently program manager for Eastern Market Main Street. And Main Street organizations are little nonprofits that support corridors of small and local businesses. The Main Streets USA program was founded to really help small business in a lot of small towns. You think of the classic like High Street, Main Street in a small town. They were built to work with and support those corridors. They do, but there are urban equivalents as well. And DC in particular has a bunch of weird zoning laws so that you end up with these corridors of commerce, like retail, restaurants, all sorts of businesses, kind of relegated to a strip of U Street or a strip of Pennsylvania. But they're all like condensed together because otherwise most of the city is residential. So DC does not have corner bodegas. It doesn't have, they're like a small handful that are grandfathered in that are like that. But overall, it's not like New York or even Baltimore where the bars and businesses are sort of blended into the neighborhoods. That doesn't happen. There's just it does a few places, but again, those places are largely grandfathered in. So DC has weird zoning. So Eastern Market Main Street Eastern Market is the area of Capitol Hill that is centered around the Eastern Market building. And it was a market building that was built in 1873. It still today functions as an indoor market. There's a butcher in there, there's a cheese shop, there's a bakery, there's a lunch counter, there's a fishmonger, there's a florist, there's a grocer, so you can get anything you need from there. And it's honestly, the prices are very reasonable, especially nowadays. It used to be they were a little more bougie, a little higher price, but they're comparable to the grocery stores that are around the area. Like, it's not any different. And they have nicer quality stuff, honestly. And they also, there's also like a farmer's market, outdoor farmer's market that happens. There's a flea market that happens every weekend. And like 7th Street is just, the street it's on is just shut down. And it's a big outdoor market, which is really fun and great for Christmas shopping. But the market building itself So the neighborhood is named for the market building because that's also the metro stop is called Easter Market. That's the landmark. But it's still part of Capitol Hill. And the imprint that I support is that stretch of 7th Street that's by the market, and then a bit of Pennsylvania Avenue that has a bunch of businesses on it. So I support all those small and local businesses with sub-grants, because I get grant money, and then it parcels out as sub-grants and promotional events and all sorts of community building stuff. And it's really fun, and I love it. And I will, I'll be in this position as long as they'll have me. It's fantastic. But the market building itself had its 150th anniversary this past weekend. It was November 11th was the official 150th anniversary, because again, it opened on November 11th. November 12th. Brain. But it opened that weekend in 1873. So that is, we had a huge weekend-long celebration. We had a fundraiser event on Friday night, and then, not this Friday, last Friday, on the 10th. And then we had, the usual flea market happened, but we also brought in a stage from the Department of Parks and Recreation, and we had a bunch of bands, and we had a whole presentation on Sunday, we had some proclamations from the mayor's office and from the city council, and it was really fun, and we had a bunch of stuff going on in the event space of Easter Market, and because in addition to the vendors in the South Hall, there's also a North Hall where you can book events and stuff. So we had a bunch of stuff going on in there, and it was a lot. It was a lot of people. It was a long weekend, but it was very, very fun. And it was really great, and it was really satisfying because there were a lot of people coming in from other neighborhoods, people who were just visiting DC for the weekend and looking for something fun to do. But there was also, a huge presence from the neighborhood, from the people who live here, from the people who shop here. And it was there was a big community building aspect to it as well, which was really satisfying. So that was very fun. And so last week I spent largely recovering from the weekend and catching up on other work stuff. And then yesterday, my husband and I and a bunch of friends got together to film. I think, as I've said before, we are huge nerds. So we play Dungeons and Dragons a lot. I'm actually running 2 games. And one of our friends wanted to do a real play podcast. So this is a thing that has happened if you play Dungeons and Dragons. A lot of folks, it's been popular for people to film or record their gameplay, because it is almost like an improv theater session, and it can be really interesting. There's great storytelling. It's often very funny, and there are several shows that have gotten really popular with this model. There's the most famous is Critical Role, and then there's also Dimension 20 and High Rollers, a bunch of others. They're big on, some channels have picked them up, and then some of the little indie, because we've just really reinvented cable with all our subscriptions. But some of the little indie channels and stuff have picked some of them up. I think Critical Role is actually on Hulu. I'm not sure. But some of them are on YouTube. So it's just, they're all over the place. YouTube especially will usually folks will also post to YouTube, unless it is something that is on a subscription channel like Dropout. So my friend really wanted to, he's a video editor, and he really wanted a passion project, something really creative that he could have fun doing. And so he wanted to do one where basically he, as the game master, didn't do any planning for the session. And if you know anything about D&D, and even if you don't, when you are the one running the game, you do a lot of prep. So you have a lot of story building, you have a lot of set dressing that you have to figure out, because you're basically narrating a scene, then you're also putting in all the adversaries, and playing the adversaries against the player characters, and it can be a daunting amount of preparation. And so my friend's idea was to take away the stress of having to do that. So we did it totally improv. He didn't know anything about our characters. He didn't really do any session prep. And so we filmed the game, and then we're going to go back and film like a voice podcast that goes over what we filmed, breaks it down, and then says, talks about what tools he used to build certain things. And it just so happened that all of us that were playing also run games, so we all have tips and tricks to cut down on planning time as well. And the whole idea is to make it a little more accessible for people, because there's often more people who want to play than people who will run the game, and one of those obstacles to running a game is being stressed out about planning. So the whole goal of this is to kind of take some of those stresses away and showing you how that can work. So it's really cool. It's a really neat project, but it was, we filmed a 4.5 hour game, and that'll be several episodes. But yeah, I was talking all day, so that was my character. So it was tiring, but it was very fun. So this is my last bit of recording things for the weekend, and I'm going to sit here and watch Flosstube and cross stitch, and that's my plan for today. That is all that I am doing. Maybe some laundry, we'll see. So with that in mind, thanks so much. If you stuck through to the life updates portion, let me know if it was too much and you're just not interested, and I'll just cut that part out. But I see a lot of other people doing it, so I thought it would be fun to sort of share conversation and discuss. So please comment below. I will respond to every comment. Again, I'm here for the conversation. I'm here for the community. So yeah, and thanks for sticking with me. I hope you have an excellent Thanksgiving. I didn't even mention Thanksgiving. That's how busy my week was. So if you're in the US, next Thursday is Thanksgiving, and we're cobbling together Thanksgiving at my in-laws' house, because unfortunately we were going to go to my husband's aunt and uncle's, but unfortunately there was a case of COVID, so we had to readjust plans. But it's going to be a lovely holiday. I love Thanksgiving. I think we should have more feast holidays. I think we should go medieval and just really just have feasts just all the time, because it's great. I love feasts. I love feasting. It's very festive. I think is festive come from feast? That feels like the etymology is probably related there. Anyway, you can tell I've been recording too long. My mind's starting to wander. Anyway, I hope all of you, if you are in the United States, that you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. If you're in Canada, I hope you had a great Thanksgiving in October. And if you are elsewhere, I hope you are having a lovely autumn. Or if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, I hope you're having a lovely spring. And with that, keep stitching, and I'll see you next time. Have a good